Welcome back to KF&JF Podcast. We're so happy that you guys are here to join us today. We're here at MAURICE CAR'RIE Winery, the ultimate vineyard, here in Temecula Valley. Man, this is a place where you can come and enjoy yourself with all types of events that they hold here. We're so happy that you're with us. We're here today with Ann and James. We're going to talk about what it is that runs this place and how it works and all of these different things. Please introduce yourself, Ann.
Hi, Ann Manning. I would be the general manager here.
James.
And I'm James Rutherford. I'm the head of production winemaker.
Wow, these guys really make this place run and put the wine out there for you to be able to enjoy yourself. I'd like to ask my first question right now, James. Talk a little bit about where you're from and your background.
Well, background is my family's been here in California about 2 centuries. So we are Californians before the gold rush. So this was Mexican territory. We had 3 Mexican land grants, which of course is now Napa Valley. So that is the background of wine. So essentially it's in my blood in a way, even though I'm adopted.
Wow, wow, that's great, that's great. And a little bit about your background and how did you come into the wine industry?
In the wine, well, I started off in restaurants. So I used to open restaurants for quite a few years. And we moved to Temecula in the 80s and there was nothing out here. Right. So I went back up to the Corona Norco area, ran a few restaurants, came back, and my brother and sister-in-law do a lot in the wineries, and I thought that might be an interesting kind of a move, but not totally different from what I was doing before.
Wow. What do you like about it? You know, what are some of the things that really inspire you about the wine industry?
Well, the wine industry and the winery itself are great. I mean, people are having a good time, they're enjoying, you're providing a great service, and just having, I love to be around the people.
Wow, wow. Talk a little bit, James, about what it means to try to bring wine to the customers. How does that process work as far as, you know, your process of going out there and bringing that wine and the grapes in? And talk a little bit about your process.
That's a big question.
Yeah. But, I want you to cover it all.
Well, essentially, you know, you'll ask, do I make wine at home? No, I have enough work here. We are making wine to sell. Essentially, what I like may not be what we want to be selling in the market. So what are we doing in the market? Well, Temecula is a hot climate area, so certain grapes are going to be more suited for this area, which means, you know, you're looking for higher acid grapes, which of course, if it's hot, when it gets hot, the acid lowers, so that will affect your acid balance and your flavor profile of the wine. What is popular in the market? Well, you know, that's kind of something you have to kind of keep following, and you develop your own market in a sense. What we are known for? Well, MAURICE CAR'RIE changed hands about 5 years ago, is that about right?
6 years.
6 years ago now. So the original owners were doing what was done primarily in the 80s, and more sweet wines, you know, more white wines. We have changed that now. We are doing more heavily on the dry red side now. So although we do have still some of our sweet wines, it's just not so heavy in that area. So we have I've been here since January. I'm still learning. This is your first year at a winery is very important. This is when you're learning everything.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm finding all the skeletons in the closet, bigging up the bodies in the vineyard, and planting some new bodies in the vineyard. But we don't talk about that.
Yeah, well, I can imagine that might be happening somewhere.
They got 100 acres, you know?
We do. And we have some new vineyards we're planting. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So the owners have been certainly dedicated to quality and updating our machinery and so forth. So I'm lucky in that respect. So, you know, this is being the first harvest. We had some equipment failures, which was very exciting.
Just a few hiccups.
Yeah, just say excitement is overrated. But yeah.
How are you? stage are you in now? What's this late in the year or this late in the
Stage
year?
4, it might be terminal. So
He keeps it.
Well,
he keeps it real
Well,
all
those
day.
here, if you have to have that kind of energy to keep a smile on your face, then do it, man.
you
I
call
love
this,
it.
no, this is delirium.
This
Ange
is
used to
the
be.
end of harvest, James.
Yeah.
End of harvest, James.
Oh,
right now.
okay.
So
Yeah, Harvest James is a little
little
uptight.
feisty.
Worn
Yeah.
out by now?
he's wore out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We all are. Yes.
Yes, it's been a harvest. Well, every harvest is a harvest, but we are on the last day of our harvest. We're doing our last press off, and my shirt's still white
It's a
because
good
we're
day.
we're doing
You're staying
Petite
distance
Syrah.
away from everything, keeping your hands on.
I do keep my hands on. Yeah, I'm not behind my desk. So if you're
Yesterday I found him in the tank.
Wow.
I was looking for him.
Cleaning it out or just
couldn't find
looking
him.
for-
I think
I don't ask anyone to do anything that I won't get in there and do myself.
That's great. That's
You know.
That's great.
So yeah, I mean, at my age, I'm still out there doing it. So doing a lot of the grunt work myself. But you know, that keeps me in touch with the wine.
Right.
You know, that's what I like, what I got in the industry for. So it wasn't a heavy harvest. I've certainly done a lot larger harvests. But
Talk about what's a heavy harvest versus a lighter. Is it just obviously more grapes, but it's just
Tonnage
the
of
whole
grapes.
tonnage of can the facility handle more, or is it just?
yeah, our facility, we actually have a good sized facility for, you know, what we are, you know, what our vineyard is. We're producing less than what we originally were set up from. But you know, like I mentioned, we have a lot of varieties, 20-something different varieties. Well, that's an added complication because it's not like you can do a big harvest, but if you're putting it all in one tank, it's not very complicated. But we're doing, you know, you're doing something different with each variety. So there's different traditions, and those traditions typically are there for a reason. It's a grape. Some grapes are more flexible, varieties are more flexible, like, oh, I can do this with it, I can do this with it, or that with it. Some things you can only do one thing for, and there's a specific reason for that. So you have to know your background on what the traditions are and what the climate lends to that. So there's just a lot of complications in having experience. I never worked with Montepulciano before, and we have Montepulciano here, and we're lucky to have it. But you know, it's going to have different traditions and things than I have worked with. Oh, but it's more like this, you know.
Education plays a part in that. What's your background in education in wine?
I do have a university degree. I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which the bragging point is that's the only wine district or only university in a premium wine district. It's one of the old schools here, and I went to school with some of the old families. Well, I'm an old family. But, you know, it's very hands-on. Their education is very you get your hands dirty. That's always been the case with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So,
So it's a love of yours. It's something that you know, actually from your family background and everything, it's something that you love doing.
it's a curse to love what you're doing. I should have been an investment banker, but I love making wine. So,
Wow.
but yes, I have the educational background, but what people forget, the tradition in winemaking is you're supposed to go out there and you're essentially an apprentice. You're not going to, oh yeah, I have the degree, so I know what I'm doing.
Right.
No, you don't. You have to go work in the industry, work under another winemaker. I primarily worked under 2 different winemakers.
They work under more than one winemaker
Yeah.
sometimes, and
So,
you need different experiences.
and who's willing to teach you? So, I mean,
How did
You
you
can-
find such a talented guy out there?
We just got lucky.
Wow.
We really did got lucky. It just we had the position open, and we heard that he was looking to come on over, and we grabbed him right up.
the reality of Maurice Carrie was, had approached me a couple times under the old ownership. I wasn't interested in doing the program under the old ownership.
Okay.
You know, that's not doing just sweet wines. I do sweet wines, but you know, and fortified wine, but
So it's that connection that you.
It's the connection
that-
with
yeah,
the
you guys make.
red wines and wanting to upgrade our.
and be connected with what's going on. As I listen to the young people as I, what's going on, because I don't want to be that dinosaur.
Right.
I will listen to
right.
criticism.
Remember, we're the same age, okay?
Right. Well, that's kind of a good area because you have to know what
Well,
the consumers want.
And Anna's the same way.
Yeah.
We are not dinosaurs, even though we listen.
You have to listen, and you have to know what's going on, and you have to see what people want, and
Right.
that's in part of that means that I'm out here all the time. As you've
Yeah,
met me. I
right.
don't
You're
stop.
really hands-on. You really are out here talking to people, moving around the facility, and all of these things. That's, like you said, that's how I met you. So, is that how you get that information from your customers? They tell you what tastes good, or they tell you what they like, so you know what to push?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It comes from them. It comes from listening to my staff. What James is really good about talking to the staff as well about what do people like? What are they looking for?
What are their criticisms? I want
Right.
to know if there was something wrong. Hey, how can we fix that? You're working with a product that's like the vineyard, Mother Nature. It's very stressful because
Yes,
you can
yes,
never
yes.
control that.
Yes.
But you have to be able to, do the best you can with what you have to work with. And
Everything comes into play. Weather, the heat, the
Right.
not heat this year has been
Yeah.
all over the place. So you can't control a lot of.
What are some of the
Thanks.
challenges, though, that when you have that kind of situation? What are you guys? What are some of the effects of it? Like when we don't have heat, you don't have enough harvest. We know that you're not able to produce much wine, but what are some of the internal effects that you go through?
Well, it's hard on your crew. When we're out here in the heat, it's hard on our crew. And I always say, which is funny, it's like, why don't you let a winemaker design your facility? For once, it's like,
This year alone, you're thinking these people are working in
Yeah.
100. It was
Oh.
110 degrees, and we were out there shoveling wine and shoveling grapes and
in the hottest part of the
hottest
day.
part of the day in
You-
the sun. These people work really, really
Yeah.
hard, but it's a passion. It has to be a passion to do it because it's
But you have to adjust. It's like,
you
and
have to
get-
be okay with it.
Yeah, it's like, and the warning is like, okay, it's going to be hot this year. It's hot every year.
It's hot every year.
Yeah,
Especially here in the valley.
Yeah.
we'll get
It's Temecula.
110 degrees. I remember one summer we got 124 in our vineyard. It's like, that's staggering heat. But the grapes don't care. You have to do something.
Yes, you got to make sure that they live. Like you talk about the grapes a little bit because I think when I was here before, you were saying they turn into raisins later on in the season, and you're looking for a certain sweetness. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, raisins. Yeah, in stylistic and preference, some people like a raisin effect, some do not. But ripeness.
That's really what it is.
Each variety has its Goldilocks zone, if you would. But most grapes, are happiest in that area between 85 degrees and 95 degrees. And that's when they're really going at it, ripening, and, it's like the gloves are off and they're out to do business or what have you. But, when you get above 95, you get in the triple digits area, most of your grapes kind of shut down.
Wow.
They preserve the plant, and yeah, the sweetness might go up, but that's by desiccation. That's not ripeness. So you might be there sitting, let's give more water to the grapes so that they don't desiccate because they're not getting ripe. But a novice might go out there, oh, the sugar's up, so it's ripe. No, it ain't ripe.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
and
so
this
it's not
is
just based on the sugar content.
And if you pick it when it's not ripe,
yeah, you're kind of, yeah,
it's very hard to.
you can't go back.
Yeah.
Is it
Once
a
it
different
off the vine-
flavor or different taste when you?
Yeah,
It's also hard to
like-
work with.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. It's
Okay.
you're dealing with, you bring something in at the wrong time, and it's kind of like,
It's a loss.
you know, reminds me of some things too. It's like some things you don't have. I'm very connected with the vineyard and communicate very well with our vineyard manager. He knows vineyards, and then you listen and you make, and you have to know the vineyard yourself, because maybe someone doesn't want to do something because, oh, I don't feel like it.
Wow.
Yeah, but you got to know. I don't deal with that. You know, vineyard manager knows what he's doing, and I'm listening, paying attention. But I had a situation back in my earlier career on buying grapes from a vineyard, and we were bringing in, what was it, Nebbiolo. And because I'm not there,
What's
I'm
a
trusting.
Nebbiolo? Can you explain that?
Nebbiolo is a really high-end grape. You're lucky to get your hands on it if you
Okay.
can. So in Europe,
varietal.
it's a varietal, and it's Barolos, which are some of the most expensive wines on the planet that you, and probably the top of what Italy will produce. So if you get your hands on some of it, it's a really nice grape to work with, but it's a red grape. And everything, I'm reading what they're bringing in, they're giving me the sugars and the pHs and so forth. Okay, it's ready to come in, and what shows up are green grapes.
Ooh.
Well, they had more than one block of Nebbiolo, and this is 2 hours away from where, you know.
So what they do? Pick the wrong one?
They picked the wrong one.
Oh.
Wow.
And no one was there
Ouch.
to say, hey, it's Nebbiolo and it's red.
Wow.
But this is green. Yeah, there was some colorful language coming
I
in
can
and
ima-
I
out,
can
but
imagine.
it's disappointing.
I
So
can imagine that.
basically, from vineyard to where it comes to James, there's a vineyard manager, somebody that runs the vineyard. They take care of it.
There's a lot of trust.
Yes, so they have to trust each other and
How
work
do you deal with
together.
all of that? How do you manage all of these different?
I manage all of them.
I know. How do you deal with that? What are some of those, tricks? You got personalities and all of that too.
That's a
Talk little
big.
bit
That's
about
a
that.
that's the trick right there, is to be able to deal with multiple different types of people and personalities,
Mm-hmm.
and
She's amazing at it.
Wow. Well, that's great.
thank you. It's just knowing your people, and what works with one person isn't going to work with another person, and that's my goal there, is just to know how to get what I want
Right. Well,
or
the
what
business.
what needs to be done
Right.
for the business
Yes.
out of each person that's here, and that's the
Yes.
same thing with our staff. I have different levels of
Your
staff
hands are in
members.
so many different places, though.
Yeah, I do a lot, but it just kind of comes natural. I don't know. I
Well,
don't
you
know
just
what to say.
you know how to work with people.
You have to read people well, and you have to
yeah,
be a good
yeah.
people person, and you have to be able to put the right people together to make things successful and easier for you. So that's always my goal.
What are some of the other activities that you do here at the facility, whether it's, entertainment or other things? Because it's just such a huge place to have
Right.
to operate it. I know you have a lot of other things going on. How do you manage those things too? Or what do you do there?
We do everything from weddings, receptions, business mixers. We have our own, obviously, wine club, and we like to take care of them and do some wine club parties. We do music every weekend. I have a couple of different promoters that come in and do music events. I have Where I Met You, the barbecue event.
Yes.
So we do the Pitmasters Cook-Off.
Wow.
To be successful in this business, you have to do multiple things.
You got to use the facility.
You have to use the
gotta
whole
use
facility.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, whether it be a tour company that does tours through the valley, whether it be...
Are you guys
know-
on the tour?
Oh, yeah.
regularly?
Well, we work with different tour companies. So there's multiple different tour companies that do wine tours. So
Is
I
that a
work with a
daily
lot of
thing,
them.
or?
Yeah, a lot of them do it daily. Some of them only do it weekends. There's a lot of different companies. So it just kind of depends. We do lunch for some of them. That's another thing, is that we do have a full kitchen now. Back in the day when it was just Maurice, they had gone through phases, but in the past couple of years, we've really upped our food menu. So we have a
Okay,
bistro.
okay. You got a really good bread here, man.
Oh, that brie bread, I
is
know.
like- that's all I hear about is the bread. It's
The
like
brie bread
that's-
has been around for many, many, many years.
Oh my God!
So,
that.
cheese, bread, garlic, baked.
Mm.
I mean, what more can
Man,
you?
you know, it's like I kind of like want some of that right now. To tell you the truth,
I-
it's one of those. I mean, when I came, my sister had some. I was like, oh my God, what is that? I'm like, oh my God.
And it goes perfectly with wine.
That's
So
tell me a little bit about what wines that you recommend with your foods you recommend with your wines. You know, is
you
there
know, I
certain
mean, there's
things
just
or-
it's
or you
going
have
to make
such
a
variety?
different. We have such a variety of
Yeah.
wines. Everything's going to pair well with different things. You know, your bolder reds or meats and such. You know, but even wine and cheese go with everything. You can pair wine with everything that's on a wine and cheese plate. You know, a cheese
Wow.
board, meat board. You know,
Do you work with that, James? Do you try to figure out a flavor that works with certain things better, or do you?
we figure out food that works with his wine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of, essentially, we play to the strengths of our vineyard. That's what
Right.
we have planted. So,
Yeah.
and we're a
So,
state, you know,
yeah, so-
which means we make what we don't buy grapes.
We don't buy grapes, so we
Oh, okay.
produce all
Okay.
of our varietals in house. So that's an estate winery, with the exception of the champagne.
How many acres are out here? It seems like it's just tons there.
We have
over 90, I heard.
Yeah, and about 70 producing.
Okay.
Planted acres,
Okay.
yes. So.
Wow, so that's a lot going on there. Talk a little bit about, James, what are some of the challenges that you've ran into when you've been working with wine? And you said, oh my God, this is a major challenge, and it affected what you were able to put out.
Well, I mean, weather conditions is like, will give you something that is not necessarily your favorite. It's optimal. So you'll have to adjust, okay, well, what kind of wine are we going to make with this? Do we do, a table wine, which is kind of like your standard Chardonnay or a Cabernet or something? Or do you make like a dessert wine? Do you make a blend out of it?
So there is a challenge working with something like that and trying to fix it.
Yes, you may
This is an
have.
amazing fixer,
Yeah.
because if it didn't come in how we wanted it to come in, this one can fix it. It's amazing, seriously. Like, because I'm tasting it throughout the whole process of it.
Oh, so you have that. You have the taste in there too, huh?
Oh,
So-
heck yeah.
Oh, just checking. I didn't know. Yeah, he was doing all
I'm
the
a, I'm a
tasting.
very
No, no.
honest taster.
Right, you don't go by just one
No,
palate.
there's.
I
the
don't-
owners come in and do the tastings.
really?
Everybody's doing the tastings because you can't just go by what one person likes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
what you like isn't what I like,
Right.
isn't what he likes. So you need a
We-
whole variety of people.
Yeah, we all have different taste buds. I mean, so you don't need the expert isn't necessarily right, because everyone has a very distinct, their own taste buds, and they're not wrong about it. Your
Yes,
taste,
right.
that's what you taste.
Right.
I'm kind of like, wine snob be damned. Everyone has their own taste buds, and they're not wrong. But it's kind of like the shotgun effect here. We're producing so many different things. If there's something you don't like, don't worry, we've got something. We'll hit something we
We have plenty of wine for different wines, different types of wines for everybody.
Talk
so.
a little bit about what like the beginning person that comes in and want to taste wine and all that. What do you recommend to them to be mindful of when they're coming in and doing the wine tasting? What are some of the things that you can let them know that they should be looking out for?
Well, certainly this is a strength in our area in Temecula, is that we're friendly. We're not wine snobs. It's like you come in and you're here to enjoy the way you like it. So I would say for
There's no
the
right and
beginner,
wrong.
there's no right and wrong. The beginner wine taster tends to like things a little on the sweet side, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some people put their nose up to that, and it's like, no, but that's where people tend to start, and then as they mature, they may go into things that are dry, and when we say dry, that's something that's not sweet.
Right.
And they may not. They may stay in that realm, and you're not wrong. I would say don't be intimidated by a lot of the grapes, like Viognier, might intimidate someone. It's like, I go by my mother, it's like, you only have to be close enough to get it into your glass. So you won at that point. Don't worry about mispronouncing the name of it. It's like, it's in your glass, it's your wine.
Right. Right, that's great. That's great. You know, I look forward to talking more to you. We'll be right back with James and Ann. Be right back.
At this time, KF&JF Podcast would like to take this time to thank our proud sponsors, Beyond, Legacy, and Joy Be Love. We are grateful for your support. Thank you for allowing us to bring fresh new content and helping us continue to spotlight small businesses, locally and throughout the state of California. We could not be who we are without your support.
Close your eyes. If money was not an issue, what would you dream for your company? What would you want done? Like, what's your vision? What monies would you want? What things or business relationship would you want to connect with? If money wasn't the issue to get there, where would you want to take your company to? So think about those things, and I'm gonna give you that time to just really think about it, because we don't dream enough. And we think too small, and we need to think bigger.
Welcome back to Maurice Carrie. We're here with Ann and James to re-talk about everything about this winery. We're going to get together and see some of the things later on, but right now we're going to get back into our conversation. And I got something for you here.
Okay.
Tell me what it's like. What's the biggest challenge of managing this place? What's some of the biggest things that you have to do?
The sheer volume of what's going on here, just with so many different facets of what's going on. That's the biggest challenge. I have a vineyard, I have production, I have winery staff, I have a restaurant, I have events, we have an outside salesperson. There's so many different facets of it. You think, oh, it's just a winery. It's so much more than just
Sure, it definitely shows much more than that.
a winery. Yes, we're not just making wine. We're doing multiple things at a time. So that's honestly
How do you deal
keeping
with
it
your,
up.
how do you deal with your mental health then on all of those types of issues, all of that going on? What keeps you, sane in that way?
Wine.
Oh,
What else?
I mean, I should have known that, but still, it's got to be
Wine.
something.
We have our winery dog.
Yeah.
That keeps me happy.
You're not going to the beach or taking a ride to LA.
I'm a grandma.
Oh, okay.
I do lots of
Okay.
grandma stuff.
That's great. That's
So,
great.
Yeah,
Grandma and kids.
grandma stuff keeps me going.
Keeps you
yeah,
sane.
yeah.
That's
so
great,
Just taking
that's
care of them. We do crafts. We do grandma's house nights. We do.
Wow, grandma house night.
Yeah.
Is that baking and cooking and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
So what's
Everything.
your favorite meal out there?
Oh, I love cooking. So, I make everything from Mexican food to Italian food to, I just brought some chicken and rice from home yesterday and fed the world.
Wow, you got a big kitchen here.
I know, we do. I cook a lot here too. I do like to cook. So
She'll make up her own recipes, of course.
I do, yeah. So a lot of the new menu items and stuff is stuff that we've added that we just play with things, what works well with what I have. I like using the same ingredients I have, so I don't have to bring in another product. So what can I make that's phenomenal with what I already have here, but yet is different?
Wow, that must be good
So.
for the consumers out there to
Cooking.
know that you're bringing those flavors right in here to the kitchen and out to them, and
Yeah.
that's one of those great things that people need to know about when they go to a winery. It's just not wine; it's a whole lot of other things.
There's
going
so much more, yeah. And it's just even like, it's a family here. It's like we're here, I'm here just as much, well, probably more than I'm at home, but you have to be the family within your workplace too.
on.
So
That-
we have,
that makes for a good camaraderie with everybody. Everybody
Yeah,
knows you
absolutely.
and it gets a little bit more personal. What are some of the trends out there that you are following? Things that you are watching for the winery?
there is a bit of a shift in wine and wine sales and such. So you have to really pay attention to what people want. And that's why I say it can't just be one thing. It's not just wine. You have to be doing multiple things, because if you don't, you kind of become irrelevant. One of our new things is our skinny line. We should talk about that a little bit. So we have a new line of wines. We have 2 bottled and labeled right now, and we have some more coming with the new
Yeah.
Are they
wine.
reds or sweets? Or
We have right now we have a Moscato, and we have a Cab that is, the Cab is 0 sugar, 0 carbs. So people that are health conscious.
Oh, okay.
But it's also even beyond, that it doesn't have 0, it has 0 sugar, 0 carbs. It's a really good, easy red wine to drink. So people that don't necessarily drink red wine, it's a very approachable wine to drink. So,
Sweet.
it's not sweet.
Not sweet.
The sweet would be the Moscato that
Okay.
has it's low sugar, low carb, not 0 like the reds. The whites are going to have a little bit, but it's definitely less
They're essentially less calories.
calories.
Yeah, they're lower calories, whether that's carb or not, because alcohol is calories, essentially. But they'd be lower alcohol, generally lower calories than your typical wine for the most part. So if there's a little sweetness, doesn't mean it's more calories. It just means that through the process we left some more
We left some of the
sweetness.
sweetness in.
Wow.
But we are, as far as I know, we're
We're
the
adding
only,
to our
only
in-
winery in Temecula doing a low carb, low sugar. So that's something that we're doing that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Great. That's going to be exciting when that comes out for your customers. Talk a little bit about an experience that you've had with your customers out there. Something that's memorable.
Oh, I love my
about,
customers.
You know,
I mean, I've been here in Temecula a long time. I know a lot of people, but I've made more friendships with just people that I've met
wow.
in the business. I have really good friends that I've met here.
Any
Just
memorable scenes or
I mean, I do weddings. I do all kinds of fun
yeah.
stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of that. Just, but I mean, you make somebody's day sometimes, So just knowing
just being
them,
nice.
that doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much. Tell me a little bit about what you would say to someone out there that's looking to come into this business, looking to be a general manager, some of the things that they need to understand, trying to run a place that's big, or even, compartmentalizing.
Even if it's a smaller,
smaller. Talk a little.
It's you have to love what you're doing. It's a lot of work. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I work a lot, and I enjoy what I do. But this isn't a 9-to-5 job Monday through Friday. This is weekends. This is sometimes 12, 13-hour days. But you look around. It's so pretty here. I mean, it's not a bad place to be all the time. If you're interested in doing any kind of hospitality industry work, you just have to be ready to work hard and work a lot, and you have to have the right mindset. Just be nice. It doesn't take much. Like I said.
You think there's a lot to be said about, people wanting to make a lot of money, and sometimes when you do something you love, money is not really the key factor. It's about,
Right.
enjoying yourself. Just like you said, this is a beautiful place, that you're here.
I mean,
You work for that.
it's
But
not I mean, if you look at it like how much do I make an hour, that might turn you off a little bit, but it's lucrative, and I mean it can be. Obviously, the more you work in it, the more experience you have, the more money you're going to make in it. But if you're only doing it for the money, the hospitality industry is probably not for you.
You hear that? You can't be in just for the money. You have to be in for something else.
Well, you have to have a passion for it too, and life's too short to not enjoy what you're doing every day.
That's great. That's great. I appreciate that, because a lot of people that are out there in small business and are coming up in their business, even from some of the other things when I came here, you have the pop-up tents and things like that. People are out there. Sometimes they don't make any money. And so it's kind of like, are you in it for the money, or are you really in it for what you're doing? So I appreciate it. Talk a little bit about some of the other activities, like the other vendors that you bring on as,
So we do bring in, vendors that sell different things. We do bring in I try to bring in local products to our gift shop. So we have local vendors that'll sell us, product. Keep it local, keep it interesting as far as that's concerned. I like to work with people that are in the area as far as promoting, bands, whether it be food, whether it be, a product that they sell. We also do a lot of charity. Like we try to donate and do different things to different charities. We work a lot with the sheriff's department. We work a lot with dogs. Love the dogs.
What part do you work with the sheriff department? Is there events that they do?
We do. So we just did the sheriff's picnic. So the big picnic that they put on every year for the sheriff's department. That's about 6,000, I think, deputies that are in the sheriff's department. But it's a great event. I mean, for them, it's only for their employees, but we go in and we donate the wine and then they sell it so they can make the money from it. So, but I've done retirement parties for them. I try to do as much as we can. We're going to look into doing something with the canine department, and because this guy here, I know. Well, a lot of people.
He's got his ear up. He's saying,
Yeah, what canine?
I hope you guys are talking about my friends.
Right. Well, a lot of people don't know that the canine department's not funded fully by the department. It's all run on a lot of donations and such like that. So, we try to help where we can. And then other charities and other events. We do a lot of pouring at different wine events and that kind of thing too. Outside, we are in grocery stores. We do have some in the the markets around here, but they're all over Southern California. We do.
So that's how you so your marketing plan and things like that. You're out. Do you do commercials for the facility? Do you have other type of advertising? What are some of the areas?
As far as we don't do commercials or anything along that lines. We do a lot of community events. We try to be, you have to be present. Right. So a lot of different community events around. We do advertising in local magazines and such. We'll do that. We do a lot with the Visit Temecula Bureau. And, this is an area of tourism. So
right,
the tourists, and people that are coming into town, you have to be seen by them. So working with Visit Temecula does a lot for that too.
How do you work during the winter season? Like this is the holidays coming up, Christmas and Thanksgiving and all of this. Is that a busy time of the year for you as well?
Yeah, obviously when people aren't at work, it's busy for us.
Yeah, that's true.
So we are lucky enough that we are actually closed Christmas Day and Thanksgiving Day, but we're open every other day. It is a busy time. It's a busy time for events, private parties, private company parties. When other people are off, we're there to help them celebrate that time. So
I see the big barn over there. Can you talk a little bit about the historical
aspect of the property?
Yeah, the property, because there's a lot of
there
things
is.
Here.
So the barn has actually been here since 1905. The barn and the windmill are historic landmarks. Back when this was all owned by Mr. Vail, the Vail family, they leased this property. It was several 100,000 acres they leased for a barley farm. So it was the Yoder family, and they ran this barley farm, but the barn was actually their working barn. So when the newer owners came in and the Ultimate Vineyards, they came in, and at that time it was still just a barn. It had barn doors. I mean, they weren't really using it for anything, but we thought that it would be a great event space.
It looks beautiful in there when you go in there. Just
right.
The aesthetics outside reminds you of the past, but then when you
go in, we've redone.
Yeah.
So they did a great job. That was before my time here, but they did a great job on redoing the inside to keep the bones of it, but to update the look of it. And then in the back of the barn is a whole outside area that's used for wedding ceremonies and private parties, again, that kind of thing. But it was just a great space to use for both. We've got the historic part of it. We're keeping it, the history alive, but yet we're using it for.
It definitely looks good. I mean, I've been to the back area back there, and you've got bands back there. It's got a waterfall back there.
The waterfall, yeah.
So it's beautiful back there. Just in the borough. Talk about the sign that's in front, the big borough sign, that historical part too.
Oh, up at the top, you mean?
Yeah, right over by the barn. The tank.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know how long that's been here, but it's been here a very, very long time. So we have, it's a water tank. That's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
it
It's
was
a water.
probably originally next to the windmill.
Probably,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It
So,
has rivets.
yes, it's been around.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
there's,
love that.
we do have some other farm equipment that's older out there. It's kind of,
Yeah.
there's flowers around it, so you can't
Yeah,
really
I
see
see
it very
it.
well right now because
Yeah.
the flowers have
I see
bloomed.
that.
But we have that. We have an old wagon. We have
Yeah.
a couple of different things. We are in the midst of remodeling the front of our property, and we will
Okay.
incorporate some of those old historic things with the new renovations out front. So we'll be renovating the whole front lawn area all the way to the street.
Wow.
So we're taking small projects at a time, but that should start pretty
Expanding
soon.
all of that, you know.
Yeah, it
giving
just needs
people more
it just
space to
needs a little
enjoy.
update. Yeah, it needs, we want to put a stage so that we have an outside stage.
Really?
Yeah, there's going to be an outside stage. So that way there's a dedicated space for
Yeah.
bands and
Right,
such.
right.
We
Maybe
do
you
do
can
it in
sit
the
out
barn,
there.
but we have, and then there'll be seating out there. There'll be a dance floor. So a lot of good things to come.
Great,
yeah,
great. You know,
just updating.
This is marvelous to see that you're a part of making that change here in Temecula
Well, you got to
Valley.
keep, you got to keep
Yeah.
up.
You got to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah.
James, let me ask you about, equipment. Do you, the industry, is it changing a lot? Do you have to be looking at new equipment? How does that work? Are you looking at stuff that, man, in the future that would help me to work faster, work better, or produce better?
Well, equipment like power tools is very exciting for me. I sometimes have to take a moment and think about it. But
He loves
Is
his,
that the
he
thing?
loves his new equipment.
Yeah,
He
you
loves
know.
his new toys.
I mean, you got
Yes.
good take out there,
and sometimes the old equipment is the best stuff you have. So
That's
I mean,
true,
it's
too.
like I love my old Europress. Still, I think it's still kind of like the BMW of the press world. So
Explain what
So
the
what I was going to
Europress-
say, what does the Europress do? Because everybody, if
Yeah.
you're not in this, you don't know what that
What
is.
that? Explain that.
yeah, if you don't know what a Europress is, you're lost.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, press being probably the most important piece of equipment on a winery property. So that's what processes all our grapes presses the juice or wine out of our grapes. So we actually have
So
two.
they go from the grape in the bins once they're harvested. They go
Yeah.
to destemming.
Decent? Well, not necessarily.
Not
because
necessarily.
The
Yeah.
destemming process.
Different, depending on what style of wine we're making. So,
So you can actually taking the grapes off and just having just the grapes and not the whole.
well, where
skin.
destemming is really important is because with red wines, really the difference between red and white wine is not the color. The color may not have any taste really. It's how you ferment. So red wine is fermented with the skins, seeds, pulp, juice all together, and then it's pressed after fermentation. So we really don't want the stems in there when we're fermenting. That would give a veggie, character to
Okay,
the
yeah,
wine.
yeah, because of the
So
stem.
we have a piece of equipment that destems it. White grapes, actually, we tend to whole cluster press, which is a more efficient, cleaner pressing than crushing and destemming. So we just conveyor built that into the whites, right into the press and press it off quickly.
Is that
we
new
just-
equipment or
So
you
that's
still
his
using the same-
Europress. We're still using the same one.
That's
the same press. I mean, the technology hasn't changed much on that press. I say about the wine industry, it's a 9 to 10,000 year old industry. It's considered really the second oldest industry, and it kind of goes along with the oldest industry. But most of the technological changes in the last 10,000 years has really happened in the last 100 years. So we have refrigeration and pneumatic machinery. So I mean, that's all been in the last 100 years.
Instead of having to destem or to press or to do any of those things manually.
Destemming wasn't really done before.
Right.
Before, yeah, the last 100
So that's
years.
come along.
Yeah. So
So all these machines help.
Yeah, well, that's great to be able to know that, some of the old equipment still is relevant today to produce this, you know.
Yeah, and what is old
Yeah,
anymore,
what is
so-
old anymore.
Yeah, so-
Talk a little bit about what, you know, someone in, you know, as a winemaker like you, the experience, the background, and the family, you know, what would you say to someone that wanted to do and come into your, you know, business to become a winemaker? What are some of the, you know, things that you would tell them that they should be trying to do to educate themselves to get to the level that you're at?
Oh, okay, well, hey. Again, all these loaded questions, I mean, that's a big question.
Yeah, because
I mean,
you're
it's
a big guy with a big dog.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you have to have the stamina and the joy of it, because it's a, like what Ann does, it's a tremendous amount of work. You spend more time here than at home. And blood, sweat, and tears, you do a lot of things that you don't have control over it, so you're more doing directing, sort of putting some influence what you can on the process. Or for a guy that you get so stressed out because it is stressful, there's things that you can
That's
control.
where it's Harvest James versus regular James.
And, you know, and Harvest James is very just direct. And not as patient. This is serious time. It's like no fooling around. It's dangerous. You
That's
know.
another thing people don't realize is that how, you know, when you're making the wine and what are some of those like dangers that come into it with the tanks and with filling tanks and
Agriculture is a dangerous, you know, thing to begin with, and you're working with a lot of machinery, and there's no fooling around. I just have to tell the young guys, no noises, because I'm listening for the machinery. I'm listening for those sounds that are going on, and if something doesn't sound right, whoop, what's that? I know immediately.
Milo didn't care for that.
Wow.
And what about like in fermentation?
Fermentation, yeah.
There's other things that come up that
Right. People don't realize that fermentation, you could walk into a winery and you don't know what you're doing. You're the first person in the building. You could suffocate before you know, realize what's going on.
Wow.
Yeah, serious business. It's like
CO2 and
yeah, CO2, carbon dioxide, is a natural byproduct of fermentation, and it's odorless, colorless, and it can displace all the oxygen in the room. We have big fans that are going during harvest now that are blowing all that CO2 out and bringing oxygen, hence bringing oxygen in. But you know, before that, it was like, oh, you could walk in, and there's like one of those things. It's like you don't know. Like I say, you have to be aware. It feels heavier in your lungs, and note that if you start feeling dizzy, get to a door, because you could go down like that.
Wow.
I remember a situation where 5 people come into a winery on Sunday to do what we call pump overs and punch downs. This is the process that we do to red wines, hence the color and so things. We have to keep that mixed around and extracting more of that, and we do a pump over or punch down, which is part of that process. Someone went in on a Sunday, this was back in 2002. 5 guys go in and they don't come out. And it's like, yeah, I remember everyone in the industry, oh my God, but they didn't realize this. I mean, education is important, that you have to educate your crew on what's going on. I've got people, this is their first production experience, and it's like, oh, maybe you should go home early. We could cook. No, I have to watch absolutely everything, because experience is everything in this industry, and you can't leave things to chance. Safety is key. You know, if something happens to one of these, that's on my shoulders.
Yeah.
So do you go home and sleep at night? Because no, you have to be aware, and I go first. You know?
so there's a lot of fun stuff in wine, but it is a
Yeah,
serious
it's very
process.
serious.
It's a very
Sounds
serious process.
You know? Well, you know, we're so happy here that you guys taking your time out of your day to, you know, come on the podcast to talk about this. Is there anything that I missed that you'd like to say real quick about the wine industry, about the business? And
Oh boy, I think we covered a lot of good stuff, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
It's an exciting industry. It's an ever-growing industry. It's an ever-changing industry, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
You have to enjoy what you're doing, but I always say we're also really in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
For,
Gotta entertain.
you know, certainly there are areas of the world that can produce wine cheaper than we can. So we're going for quality and entertainment. It may not be as a famous walk in the clouds, but you know, there's really hard work behind.
That was a
behind
good
that.
movie.
It was a good movie, but you know, it gives you a false sense
Sense
of
of what's really
on.
going on in the wine world.
But I mean, that was great. What does it call it? Propaganda for our industry. But yeah, it really isn't a walk in the clouds. I mean, it's
The key
a
to
lot.
it is making it look like it's a walk in the clouds and knowing that it's not.
Well, you know, you guys are definitely,
Yeah, I
you
mean-
guys are definitely professionals, you know, and this winery is, you know, pumping with energy with this guy right here pumping out all of this great wine and you managing all of these different things. We are just so happy that you've taken the time to come on KF&JF
And a couple of
podcast.
great owners behind us.
Yes. And their name?
Janik Patel and Sumal, I can't say her last name.
Well, to the owners.
But Janik
thank
and
you so
Samal,
much
amazing
for
people.
having a great wine out here in Temecula Valley.
Akund,
We're
right?
so happy that you
Akund.
guys were able to come here and enhance this valley
Thank you.
with the wine. Thank you so much. See you next time.